This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hey folks, welcome in. Here are some of the things you will learn by the end of tonight's program. What if the smell of pine, the sounds of birds, the feeling of being in the forest, and a VR headset could ease your stress and boost your brain? In 10 minutes' time, we will cover a new study on virtual forest bathing that might change how you think about the relaxation of nature and where you need to go to feel it. A future where you have a stressful day in the office, pop on a VR headset of a relaxing forest scene, and then feel relaxed isn't as far away as you might think. After that, you probably think you know exactly what processed foods are bad for you. You might even think all processed foods are bad for you. And you might be shocked because new research reveals just how wrong most of us are about what processed foods are healthy and unhealthy. Some lower your risk for diseases, others terrible. And no, we're not going to tell you bacon is good for you. And also, what even is the definition of a processed food? Think about it. It's kind of hard to pin that one down. So we'll cover that halfway through the hour. That is merely some of tonight's program. We'll tell you more about what you're going to hear coming up as we steer the weird ship into the weird wind this evening. But for now, let's jump in.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
And in unauthorized amputations being criminally used as part of taxidermy collection news, we have a Wisconsin nurse who pleaded no contest to using an unauthorized amputation criminally as part of her taxidermy collection. We are joined by foreign correspondent Tony Five to pick this one apart and say what it means to you in your life. And I'm sure it's a lot. Tony, welcome to the show.
David, this is an unbelievable story from Wisconsin, New Mexico. I don't know how things like this happen. I don't know how you could go into hospital, have your foot cut off, and let's be very, very clear. This woman has a hobby in taxidermy. And as I've said many a time, I love a bit of taxidermy. I love yellow cabs. I love Ubers. I wouldn't go down the route of cutting someone's foot off just for that.
No, it's a different kind of taxidermy.
Okay.
With the animals, not it's stuffing animal. You know this. You're killing me.
Right. So basically, this guy was ill anyway. He was in hospital. He had a necrotic foot. So the foot was dead.
Is that a necrotic foot, or are you just happy to see me?
Always happy to see you, my friend. And he, I hope he was asleep. She cut off his foot and she took it home and she wanted to put it on display.
Okay.
And display was, wear your boots, kids.
Sorry, she wanted to make a plaque with the foot that read, wear your boots, kids.
Yeah, as a kind of PSA, right? So wearing your boots will stop you from getting, problems with your feet. And I think it's called like trench foot.
Trench foot, frostbite, necrotic foot syndrome, which is a syndrome that's very real that I just made up right now. Yeah. What is necrosis? That's when a part of your body dies?
Dies. So there's no blood going to it and it dies.
That's always fascinated me, that you could be living, but then attached to you is like a foot or a hand or a shoulder or an ear, and that's dead.
Yeah. What's so fascinating? I mean, like, have you ever stubbed your like nail? You know, when you thing your nail and the nail just dies. It's like where blood doesn't go to it. There was one time I had a necrotic. It was very difficult. It didn't work, but it came back. I brought it back to life.
Wow, Tony. Wow. Making sure we're going to have a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this woman, she's a nurse. She works at a hospital. Guy comes in with a messed up foot.
Yep.
He ended up dying, so he wasn't in good shape.
But let's be clear. He didn't die as a result of the amputation.
Allegedly.
So she was, yeah, exactly. And because she pled no contest, she never actually admitted guilt to anything. And she only got, I think, roughly a $400 court cost fine.
Oh, yeah, they didn't send her to jail. Could you imagine you're a nurse and you steal someone's foot and you just get a $400 fine? I feel like you should at least do a month in jail just to get you a little bit of like a punishment so you don't steal any other feet.
I'll be honest with you, she's quids in, my friend, because a prop foot on eBay is about $500. So she's doing very well. I mean, she's an economist and a lobotomist.
But I'm just thinking, like, if I had a friend, okay, and they invited me over and they said, look.
Both feet?
Say again?
They have both feet?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's yeah, a friend with both their feet. Okay, because I assume this nurse has both her feet.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony. And they invite you over and they're like, hey, check out my new plaque.
Right.
That's a human foot. And then on their wall is a frostbitten dead foot that's taxidermied with the text underneath it, wear your boots, kids. I might call the cops. Like, that doesn't seem like who are these people that this nurse is going to show this foot to that aren't going to be a little alarmed? Or is she pretending that it's not a real foot and pulling a fast one on all these people she knows?
I think you're missing the major point. If she's adding to her collection, what's already in her collection?
Look, that's what we want to know. Her family, I'm reading, owns a taxidermy shop.
It's always the parents, isn't it, David?
Yeah, raise your kids right.
They're always a victim of the parents, right?
The public are not happy about this. They are saying the sentence was too lenient. They're demanding stronger oversight at the nursing home where this nurse worked.
I mean, she's been banned from being a caregiver, which is kind of true. The only thing she took care of was that foot.
Yeah, she did take good care of it. She preserved it for a while.
I think she put it in formaldehyde. I thought originally when the news flagged up to me, I thought it was one of them art projects. You know, you get some weird art, modern art where, you know, you have somebody's foot and stuff. And maybe the guy would have kind of, you know, it was dead anyway. Maybe he could have made some money for his kids or whatever. But the fact that she just took it, I do think it's quite strange.
I wonder how she got caught.
Well, they walked into she's not there all the time. They probably walked in and saw his foot was missing, my friend.
Well, yeah, I guess that's one way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the obvious one, right? Look at him. There's patient number 4. And, he's got a foot missing. He had both feet yesterday, doctor.
Yeah, but wouldn't they just think it was a normal amputation? Like, how would they know to check to see whether the nurse had taxidermied it?
Because she's a caregiver. I don't know whether she's a professional surgeon. I presume when you cut off a foot, like, she used like a hacksaw or something.
Oh my God. This is getting...
Because remember, it's dead, right? So there's no blood going to it. So cutting it off will essentially be like cracking it open like a sausage.
Yeah, and what she was charged with was abusing a patient.
Abusing the elderly. And that's usually where, you know, you take their money, like elder abuse, right? Taking their money, maybe like being like, maybe shouting at them, maybe giving them a slap, not cutting off the man's foot.
Yeah, I suppose that is abuse.
Why wouldn't it be abuse? I like my feet. If somebody took off my feet, I'd call them abusive.
Oh, you like your feet?
I like my feet, yeah. I mean, I haven't got a fetish about it.
Later in the program, we'll cover a survey how over half of people are scared to show their feet in public, like in sandals or in flip-flops or at the beach without shoes. 50% of people, Tony.
My ex-girlfriend had a club foot. She could never find sandals.
I wonder if this elderly man, between the time of amputation and death, was he now only 25% scared to show his feet? Because half of 50% is...
I mean, to be fair, but half of 50% is about 20%. But if the foot's gone and it's dead, you've only got about 30% left, my friend.
Are you scared to show your feet in public?
Not at all. I will flash them bad boys out anytime, day or night.
You got nice feet, or you just don't care? You just want to subject the public to your disgusting feet?
No, I've actually got, and I'll send you a picture of it. I've got 2-tone feet.
What does that mean?
So if you look at my feet from an oblique side angle, the top half of my foot is like brown, but the bottom half of my foot is white.
So you have interracial feet.
I have interracial feet, David. So the bottom half of my feet can get taxis. The top half of my feet really find it difficult to get a taxi.
Well, that truly was news people can't use. Any lessons or morals or learnings from this case of this unauthorized amputation?
I would glue my feet to my shoes.
Fair enough. And that way, no nurse will ever be able to take them. Tony 5, thank you. After the break, studies have found that real forest relaxation can make you feel really better. Real better. They can make you feel better. But can a fake forest, a VR forest with fake smells, fake sounds, fake sights, confer the same benefits? If you're feeling stressed and pop on a VR headset in the woods, can that fake scene make you feel good? Yes, and we'll tell you how up next.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
The human algorithm, where emotional inputs create unexpected outputs. The last show with David Cooper.
If we could all relax, head out into the forest, and take a deep breath, wouldn't it be great? But some of us are busy. We can't all do that. A new study explores whether virtual reality forests, complete with sounds, sights, even smells, can offer real relief for stress and sharpen your memory. I'm here with someone who worked on a study that involved this. She's a clinical psychologist at the University Medical Center, Hamburg-Eppendorf. Her name is Dr. Leonie Ascone. Leonie, thanks for joining me.
Sure. Nice to see you.
I love this word that came up in your research, forest bathing. What exactly is forest bathing?
Well, actually, it's a tradition that stems from Japan, from Asia. And what is meant with bathing is that you really fully engage in the experience. So you you're not taking a rain shower in the forest, obviously, but you fully engage all your senses. So smell, vision, tactile contact, you move around and you kind of try to really fully experience the forest. And usually it is also guided. So some professional goes with you and helps you experience it, but you can also learn it to kind of do it by yourself. But the bathing actually comes from the full experience, like full immersion into the experience.
I imagine these experiences, I've never done them, are very restorative, meditative. People go into the woods, they come back, they feel relaxed, better able to focus. Is that some of the results from a real forest bathing experience in the real world?
Actually, yeah. So there's even already review evidence, meaning that the scientists kind of take together different publications and papers on the topic and try to synthesize the evidence. And what they actually found out is that there's positive evidence for memory, affect improvement, and also physiological improvements, like, for example, your heart rate gets more stable, you get more chilled and relaxed. And it actually positively influences the so-called parasympathetic nervous system, which kind of cools you and chills you down and is good for cardiovascular health. So, I'd say the evidence is positive and it's accumulating for real forest bathing, so to speak.
So where do you get this idea to try it using virtual reality? Do it as a simulation, perhaps in a busy office building in a busy city?
Well, the idea actually came from my observations. Like, for example, I'm working in a clinic and we have, for example, isolation rooms where patients are unable to get out and they're supposed to kind of calm down in these environments. But then the lack of stimulation can even make them more nervous and panic. And I thought about all kinds of different situations where perhaps it would be nice to have access to a forest, but you simply don't have easy access to a forest or to nature in general. And then, like we always do as scientists, I really, really like VR. I've worked with VR before, and I tried out different stuff in VR, like clinical trials of different kinds. And then I was like, okay, why not the forest bathing that chills people down and gives you a better mood and regulates you in a way? Why not do that in VR and develop something that can be further developed and then perhaps one day be used in different scenarios where people don't have real life forest access?
So you try it out. What does a VR forest bathing simulation look like? Are you simulating smells, touch? Does it very much seem like the real thing? Walk me through what I would experience if I did one of your trials.
Well, actually, we just had 3 modalities. So vision, the audio part, the hearing, and the smell. You could also make it much better, like perfect it even more. There are VR applications where people walk on treadmills, so you can actually move through the virtual forest. You can not only see it, but you move through it and the scenery changes. Then there are like really cool developments that also include haptics. So you kind of can perhaps have some interaction with objects in the forest with the virtual objects. But we limited it to the 3 senses because, actually it was a very low budget study.
As often happens in academia.
Yeah, I pulled it through for several years with some really nerdy students, and we had very little budget. And also like looking at the evidence and looking at the studies out there, I noticed that actually there's not a lot of evidence and research on virtual forest bathing. So I said like, okay, let's make this systematic, also the comparisons, because we didn't only integrate this, like smelling the Douglas fir, seeing the Douglas fir forest, hearing the birds from the forest, but we also tested separate modalities. So it's kind of like, and you need to acquire participants for each and every single condition. So that takes time and takes money. So yeah.
So once you put these headsets on, how close to the real thing, really being in the woods, did you find the people who went through the VR experience? How close to the experience was it?
It's hard to say because I think we didn't assess realism, like scientifically speaking.
Sorry, not in terms of how it really felt, but the results. How close to the positive results did your participants experience?
Well, it were like scientifically speaking, small to moderate effects, but that's not bad. I mean, like the effects we observed, in principle, I'd say to me they are quite promising. I think we can still enhance them by adding more modalities and making the input even better and stronger. But it's positive evidence, I'd say. Yeah.
It's a step in this interesting direction. Do you see a future where like a stressful investment bank with like bankers yelling at each other on the phone all day might have a room with one of these setups where people could just go and unwind and relax and have forest bathing? Like, do you see a future where this could be a therapy used outside of an academic setting?
Definitely. And not only therapeutically, like you said, but also perhaps like in stressful or after stressful everyday life situations. Like the scenarios you described could perhaps work really well to chill people down. And then, okay, let's go back to the negotiation table, and talk again after we all count down a little bit. And I mean, nature exposure in general is something very positive, but our cities are highly deprived of nature. So I think might be something that should or will be growing, although I prefer that nature is preserved. But
sure. I mean, I live in New York City. We got the park uptown, but mostly nature is just rats and cockroaches where I live. That's real nature, right?
Yeah.
Do you think people could use this as part of like, instead of going to a therapist, do you think they could use it at home? Like I get into a fight with my girlfriend and then we both just go into nature for a minute. Like, I really think this could be a great thing.
I think of it rather like an add-on. Like if you have a real mental health problem, of course, go to a therapist.
Sure.
Or to a professional. But I think in general, yeah, all kind of stress regulation and to ease up situations and to kind of, improve your mood and perhaps your working memory. This could be something that you could definitely give it a try.
Some people might say that digital nature is definitely not real nature, but if the simulation is good enough, do you think our brains care, so to speak?
Well, our brains are vision dominant, which doesn't mean that the other senses don't count. Still, I think it's rather impossible to fully replicate true nature. But actually, yeah, we can approximate some of its effects, especially the visual ones, I think. And it still has effects.
Earlier in the interview, you mentioned all these tweaks you could make to make it even more real. Is that what's coming next in your research?
Yeah, that'd be really great. Like, I would be really interested in improving the immersion and see whether it really adds to the effect. But I would need a lot of participants and a lot of more money this time.
I think you just need one big tech company to get wind of your research to come out with a product. I really do. Leonie, thanks for talking to me about this. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, has anybody heard this from a big tech company? You can contact us.
And fund our research.
I would be very happy for someone to do that. I'm here with Dr. Leonie Ascone. She's a clinical psychologist at the University Medical Center, Hamburg-Eppendorf. Leonie, thanks again.
Thank you.
Coming up next, you've probably been told this blanket health advice: avoid processed foods. But what if some of them are actually good for you? After the break, the surprising truth of things like cereal and canned veggies, and why many of us are blaming the wrong foods for health problems. When most adults are asked which processed foods are good for you or not, they do bad on that quiz. Very bad. Details in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, faucets, vanities, doors, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a member? Join My Lowe's Pro Rewards for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The last show with David Cooper.
Most people think they can spot unhealthy food, but research shows that many of us can't tell the difference between harmful and healthy processed food. Maybe it's because we've all been told processed food is bad for us, but not all of it is. So let's learn what foods to watch out for and what surprising choices could actually protect your health. I'm here with someone who's done research in this area. He's the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. His name is Dr. Neal Barnard. Neal, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you today.
Big myth buster here. I have always been told processed bad, fresh food's good, and it's really as simple as that. And I think I've been told wrong in this regard.
That could well be, and it's not your fault. There's been a little bit of an industry push here, I have to say. In the same way that tobacco causes lung cancer, we've known for a long time that meat is linked to colorectal cancer and other things, and cheese is not health food either. But the industry has really been trying to take the emphasis off those foods, I think, and saying, no, the big problem isn't your bacon or your burger. The big problem is ultra processed foods. And sort of nobody knows what that means. So we did a survey. We rounded up more than 2,000 people and asked them, first of all, what's a processed food and are they all unhealthy? I got to tell you, the first thing we discovered is it's all over the map. Some people will say, well, a processed food is a hot dog, or a processed food is maybe something that's shelf stable with preservatives, or something that's got artificial additives in it, and ideas are all over the map. And then the big problem is, as you were talking in the introduction, about 39% of people thought they're all unhealthy, and about an equal number said, no, they're not all unhealthy, but nobody really had a clue. So where we are now is people are kind of confused.
It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but as I heard you talking, I'm thinking I surely must know the definition of processed foods, and I got to admit, I'm not sure I do.
Right, and really nobody does, because it's kind of an invented term. And some of the blame goes to researchers in Brazil who said, well, if something hasn't been modified at all, that's unprocessed. If it's been modified some, it's processed. If it's been modified to the point of being unrecognizable, that's ultra processed. But here's the problem. They're lumping everything together. Researchers at Harvard really put their finger on this. 2023, they said, what if you have, say, an ultra-processed meat product? We're going to call that bacon that's got nitrates in it, or a hot dog, something like that. And that is indeed associated with a big increase in diabetes risk, a 44% increase for those who eat a lot of that. But what if my ultra-processed food is cornflakes, a breakfast cereal? They took the corn, they smashed it into little flakes. What about that? Well, if you eat that, that's associated with a 22% reduction in your risk of diabetes. It doesn't cause diabetes at all. Same with sweet snacks. And what they came to is, wait a minute, just calling them processed really doesn't help. The ones that are plant-derived for the most part are okay, with some exceptions, like a soda. I guess you could say maybe that started out as a plant somewhere, not so good. But for the most part, the plant-derived processed foods, okay, and even helpful. Whereas the animal-derived ones, like the hot dogs, the bacon, the salami, those are the ones where you really see the big risks coming in.
Something like trail mix, which may well be quote unquote processed, not so bad for you. Something like bacon in a hot dog, probably bad for you. I'm starting to see there might be a bit of a danger in this blanket kind of thinking.
Absolutely. And luckily, that researchers are starting to make it clear that not everything is bad. In fact, the American Medical Association, beginning of June of this year, came out with a new policy saying, we want to help Americans to understand the difference between a healthful processed food. That could be something like spaghetti or whole grain bread or something that doesn't have any cholesterol or animal fat, compared with the unhealthy processed foods. And that's where the hot dogs and the bacon and including turkey bacon and chicken sausage, those are not health foods, even if they come from a bird. So that's what the AMA has been saying. And I think we're starting to turn the corner there.
I heard you say pasta, which got me really excited because that's my favorite food. And I think I would eat it whether it was health food or not. Help me understand a little bit more intimately about what some of these healthy things we could be eating that are traditionally thought of as processed, and then ones that aren't so healthy.
Yeah, well, take pasta. You go to the store and you get a thing of spaghetti and look at the ingredients list.
Durum wheat or whatever the wheat is, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. One ingredient. They took wheat, they ground it up. Back many years ago, the BBC did a spoof where they were talking about pasta being spaghetti coming off of the spaghetti tree.
Yeah, for April Fools. That was such a great thing. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Well, people have no idea. They think, where's it coming from? Spaghetti, all it is wheat ground up and put into a noodle. And what really determines whether it's healthful or not is what you put on top of it. So you can drown it with ground beef and fatty cheese, and that is going to be a problem. But it's not the pasta. The pasta was just a vehicle for delivering all that bad topping to it. But let's say you go to your favorite Italian restaurant, put a little light marinara on top, or an arrabbiata sauce. That's Italian for angry, meaning a little spice in there, or a pesto, which is made from basil. Those are healthful ingredients. And if you're eating something really, if you're eating the steak and you switch to the pasta, you made a good choice.
And I think like another example might be like lard versus olive oil. Like, the olive oil we might think of as processed because it looks nothing like the original crop, the olive. And lard might be coming fresh from a pig, but olive oil is the healthy one. The lard may be less so.
Oh my goodness sakes, absolutely. And you can see that right on your shelf. When lard it's hot and it cools down, it becomes a waxy solid, which is a clear sign that it's loaded with saturated fat. That's the bad fat that elevates cholesterol. The olive oil is not going to do that. Now, that said, what you said is true. Olive oil came from an olive. And if you eat the olives, that's the fruit that the tree wanted to give you. And that's probably the best of all.
True, I do love olives. I feel like I never did as a kid. That's an old person food. What additional education would you like consumers to hear to move away from this black and white thinking of processed food? I mean, it's an ambiguous label as we see. What would you like people to learn that maybe they aren't getting educated with today?
The other piece of this survey asked people, well, what is it that's causing diabetes? Because a lot of people think the processed foods, especially sugar and carbs and desserts, cause diabetes. And that is actually not true either. Sugar does not cause diabetes. So the thing we want people to know, a little bit complex, but hold on for a minute. What causes diabetes, type 2 diabetes, the one that's so common, it starts as a condition called insulin resistance, which is just a fancy word for fat is building up inside your cells. That fat that came from foods. When the fat builds up inside your muscle cells or inside your liver cells and so forth, well, at that point, your natural insulin doesn't work anymore. That oil slick is stopping it from working. So what causes diabetes is the fatty foods like the meats I grew up with in North Dakota, or that my family raised, or all that fat dripping off a French fry or something like that. The fat is what stops diabetes from working, and it is not sugar or bread or pasta. These are not the causes of diabetes. So give them a not guilty verdict. The reason this is so important is we do research studies here at the Physicians Committee. People come in with type 2 diabetes, and if we can get that fatty junk out of their diets, I mean, we use vegan diets, so no animal products, keep oils really low too, even the healthy oils. We see diabetes improving, their medicines diminish. Sometimes they got off them altogether. Just before we came on the air, one of our patients, his diabetes is gone. We see this frequently. Now, quick warning, don't cancel your doctor's appointment. Don't throw your medicines away. Diabetes is serious. But when you put this kind of diet together, it works dramatically better than the old-fashioned notions. Yeah.
Is there something to be said for moderation? Like, can I eat those French fries once every 6 months? Or are you really saying never do that?
Well, every step is a good step. Every step is a good direction. And frankly, if the French fries were cooked in vegetable oil instead of lard, that's a better step too. So every step that you make toward the more plant-based diet is better. It's the opposite of how I grew up. I grew up in Fargo, and it's, cattle country and all that kind of stuff. And my extended family was involved in that business. But we learned some new tricks, and maybe a lesson to take home is think international. When I was a kid, we didn't have Italian food. We didn't think about it. But you go into an Italian restaurant, they've got a plant-based option. You go into a Mexican restaurant, they've got beans and rice and veggie fajitas.
And salsas.
You're going to find great foods that your body is going to love.
Well, Dr. Neal Barnard is the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Check out his book, The Power Foods Diet. That's available wherever books are sold. Neal, thanks for talking to me today.
Great to talk with you.
The icy cold stare of an evil or just regular robot. Well, if you are forced to play games with one, it'll feel more human. How? Why? Details in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Are you ready to dairy-free your mind? This summer, melt away your dairy-free expectations with So Delicious dairy-free frozen desserts. Enjoy mind-blowing flavors like salted caramel cluster, chocolate cookies and cream, cookie dough, and more. For over 35 years, So Delicious has been cranking up the flavor with show-stopping products that are 100% dairy-free, certified vegan by Vegan Action, and are so unbelievably creamy, your taste buds will do a double take. Dairy-free your mind. Visit SoDeliciousDairyFree.com.
New York, Berlin, London, Paris, kick so slick and fresh, so lavish, never go fake, hard to break like a habit, but if it's at stake, then girl, I gotta have it.
Where David Cooper applies NASA-level precision to decoding mixed signals from both space and significant others. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Robots are showing up everywhere, from classrooms to hospitals, but can we truly connect with them? Well, new research out of the University of East Anglia suggests we can, especially if we play games with the cyborgs first. Let's dive into the surprising psychology of how robots can become human-like, at least in our minds. I am joined by Dr. Luca Pascolini. Luca, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
And Dr. Natalie Wyer. Natalie, welcome in.
Thank you.
So what exactly happens in our brains when we start to see a robot as more human-like after playing a game with it?
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting insight that we found. I think it's way better if we navigate to the beginning of it. So actually how our brains are capable of making sense of the actions that we perform in the world. This is a skill that we developed over our human evolution, but basically we have sort of an illusion system that allows us to distinguish things that are just happening in the world from things that we are doing in the world. And this illusion that our brain plays on us is a time compression sort of effect. So basically, whenever we are doing something, we perceive something between 20 to 30% less of the time that was actually between our actions and the effect that that action produced.
Where does play come into play here? Because I feel like there's nothing more kind of connecting with another creature. I see animals do it, humans do it too, than play. Is there something important about that when it comes to interacting with non-human things?
Well, I think the key thing that we were thinking when we kind of introduced that into our research was that by playing with the robot, it kind of gave the participants in our research the idea that the robot was kind of acting on its own, like as like it had a mind of its own and was acting with intentions and goals to try and win the game. Whereas when people didn't play with the robot, they just saw it as kind of a machine that was just carrying out the commands of the human that was operating it.
Tell me about these robots that people were able to play games with, the robots and the games that your participants played with them.
So the robot itself was a product called Cosmo, and this is a non-humanoid little robot that was actually very interesting to operate with because it had two different ways of performing actions in its environment, either being completely manipulated and controlled by someone else, that was the experimenter performing the actual data collection, or it could be some sort of coded in order to perform the actions and also show emotional responses. So for example, when playing a game with participants, we could have the robot to be happy when winning or sad when losing the game.
But without a face and a body, how was the robot able to convey happy or sad?
Sound. There was no face, but there was a monitor with eyes and facial features. So yeah, there is space for that.
Interesting.
It also kind of like jiggled around when it got excited. So like when it won a turn, it would kind of vibrate and bounce around a little bit. So it really felt like it was having a human-like response, I think.
Well, slightly, but I feel like the people were attributing human-like responses that weren't there more so than they would had they not have been playing a game. That's my understanding.
So basically, what I anticipated before with like being able to understand what are our actions and what is just happening in the world is not only measurable within our own actions, but also for actions that are performed by other people. So our research question was actually, okay, we can measure that for other people, but what if the other person that we are interacting with is not human, is just a robot? So we ran this first experiment in which we compared an observed action performed by another person to an observed action performed by a robot. And our results were interesting because we didn't observe the same magnitude of this time compression illusion that I mentioned before. So not the same strength, but still some degree of it. And upon a more detailed analysis, we found out that basically half of our participants did experience this time compression and the other half didn't. So what we did with the second experiment was to manipulate how the robot was perceived, either by a tool, so a mechanistic kind of approach, or some sort of entity that is not human, but is still able of its own action, its own feelings, its own understanding of the world.
So what are some of the takeaways here that robot designers should be thinking about? Less realistic robots in terms of how they look and more about how they interact with us? Are there takeaways like that you would recommend to people designing robots that are going to interact with humans?
I would say I mean, what our research suggests is that it's not that important, like what the robot looks like. So it doesn't really matter whether the robot it looks like a human, because there are, human-shaped robots, or if it's like ours was like this little cube, with a little arm that goes up and down and some flashing lights. It's more important kind of how the robot behaves, whether it appears like it is acting in a social way. So if it's acting like, my child has played with this little robot and he kind of acts towards it as he would act towards one of our dogs, right? I mean, it's that sort of relationship that he has with it, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think the more social the robot acts, the more we then respond to it as if it has human-like intentions and goals and motivations.
Is there potential for like emotional attachment to robots that you're seeing? I know it's just like an initial study, but I mean in the future when robots become more and more useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is. I would imagine probably already, there are people that get emotionally attached to different types of, artificial intelligence, their Siri on their phone or what have you.
I don't want to talk about how my dad gets into a fight with Siri over directions like every day. That's a conversation for another time. Yeah. Is there a risk, you think, in the future of people getting too emotionally attached to robots?
I don't know. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I don't know if Luca has any thoughts on this.
That's for the future to say. I just wanted to add that a very important point in like designing robots and stuff. It's also depending on the final goal of these robots. So, for example, robots really interacting with people in their daily lives for sure will gain very good improvements from showing emotional signals and behavior. But instead, robots that are used for clinical approach with autistic people, for example, in that case, there is research that shows that a more mechanistic approach is like preferable.
Could your findings apply to AI chatbots, which a lot of people are using today? Like if we made them more playful, people would start thinking of them as more like friends than tools?
Yeah, I think this is already happening. And also there is this big debate about saying thank you to chat GPT or something like that is like providing better response, but also increasing costs overall.
Well, this research was done out of the University of East Anglia by Dr. Luca Pascolini and Dr. Natalie Wyer. Natalie, thank you for joining me on the show. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's nice to talk to you.
And Luca, thank you as well.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you like what you hear, but you're just tuning in, or you're not going to be with us on a given evening, and you want to hear what you missed? Well, fear not, The Last Show is available for you to stream as a podcast. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza in your web browser. That's .pizza, not .com. Don't ask me why. And there you can find out details of our podcast, including how to subscribe. Coming up next, we'll take a look at pop culture news, including the big scandal with actor Hugh Grant. Mr. Grant, quote, mortified the royal family at Wimbledon during a tennis match. Now, what did he do? What horrible faux pas gets you blacklisted from the royal box at Wimbledon? That we'll discover in a few moments. And boy, is it stupid.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. We all have that piece. The one that's so you've basically become known for it. And if you don't yet, fashionistas, you'll find it on eBay. That Miu Miu red leather bomber, the Custo Barcelona cowboy top, or that Patagonia fleece in the 2017 colorway. All these finds are all on eBay, along with millions of more main character pieces backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay is the place for pre-loved and vintage fashion. eBay, things people love.
Cooper's Law tells us that the complexity of a relationship is inversely proportional to its explanation. You're listening to The Last Show with David Cooper.
It's how to get blacklisted from Wimbledon, the tennis tournament, in one simple step. We are here with Caitlin Green. It's pop culture like fungus. She's a reality TV historian probably, but also a media personality and co-host of the Jan Arden Podcast. Caitlin, welcome in.
Thank you so much.
My goodness. What could you do that is so egregious that you could get banned from Wimbledon? Is it like belching on the queen? You know, it must be something so bad that everyone is just completely beside themselves to get blacklisted from an event.
Mm-hmm. And if you're Hugh Grant, your big crime was falling asleep.
He was spotted snoozing?
Yeah, he was caught on camera as a specific guest of Queen Camilla, and he got to go to the royal box to watch Wimbledon, and apparently he's never going to be invited back because cameras caught him snoozing.
Did they zoom in like they would at like any like hockey or football game, or because it's tennis and ostensibly more classy, did they like quickly zoom away, or did they really try to embarrass the royal family in their royal box?
I don't think he got the full kiss cam treatment where they lingered too long, but you know, it's a high profile enough invite and he is a celebrity, that they definitely panned over to the royal box and you can see him visibly slumped and he's wearing sunglasses. But the guy's 64 and it can be pretty hot there. So maybe he just needed an afternoon nap. I'm not sure, but it did not land well with the royal family.
A little siesta. Maybe he just spent a lot of time in Spain. They do the afternoon nap there. They have a Spanish royal family. Maybe he just didn't know where he was.
I think also day drinking plays a role here because every single person at Wimbledon is half in the bag. They drink a lot at this event. They drink a lot at most sporting events. And I, for some reason, envision Hugh Grant as being a man who is familiar with pub culture and enjoys a glass of wine. And I bet you he had a little bit of midday drinking and then midday sleeping.
With no disrespect to tennis, actually probably with some disrespect to tennis, how are you going to get through a game without some alcohol?
Honestly, I've been to tennis matches that were high profile, at least here in Toronto where I live. And it's very long. It can run long.
Is the media just running with this and the royal family and Hugh Grant saying nothing, or have there been comments that have been captured?
So the BBC has said that Buckingham Palace was, quote, mortified to see their special guests with eyes closed and slumped to one side. So if the BBC is reporting it and it's coming from the palace, I do actually think this is a real story and that they weren't happy with it.
You know, the palace has like a publicist and a media team and a media comms team. Some schmuck had to like figure out what the official quote was going to be to pass to the BBC. And their job was to pass that word mortified that was then quoted. That's so funny to me.
It is crazy because of all the scandals and all the things that the royal family has been and continues to be caught up in. I cannot believe that someone would give a quote saying they were mortified that Hugh Grant had a light snooze in the royal box. Like, you should be mortified about a lot of things to do with your family members. This is really not a top priority, and I wouldn't think it is.
I was once interviewing a British asparagus psychic on my show. Don't ask. Okay, maybe do ask. She drops asparagus on the ground and how it lands tells the future. She went on and on about Randy Andy embarrassing the family. You're right that there are things that they should probably be focusing on.
It's wild to me. And I mean, Camilla herself and her husband, King Charles, have been caught up in no shortage of scandals. If I was them, I would never use the word mortified ever again. They have been caught care of wiretapping by the press, talking about Charles wanting to be used as a feminine hygiene product for her.
Yes. Honestly, power to him. I mean, that's great. And when I read that quote, I was like, what a guy. I'm glad he's king. I'm glad that my passport requests in his name that I can enter various countries without hindrance or let.
If I was Hugh Grant, I would probably say something to that effect. Like, not here to kink shame, but for a guy who previously wanted to be a Tampax, leave me out of it.
Will I have a job tomorrow after this interview? We shall see. That'll be the big cliffhanger. Okay, my girlfriend, she doesn't have like the most beautiful feet. I'm going to get killed for this. They're not too bad. It's just, years of wearing heels and shoes and just calluses. Yeah. So she's not like it's not a train wreck, but she was once saying, "Oh, I don't want to wear these shoes because I got a little cut or a little rubbing and I got to wear a Band-Aid over the sore and this, that, and the other. I'm so embarrassed of my feet." That's what she said to me. And I said, "Your feet are fine. They're just a little rustic." And I didn't say that as a joke. And now she's been angry with me for 10 years.
Yeah, I think rustic is not usually a descriptor that most women would like applied to their bodies.
Learn from me. Don't comment on your significant other's feet and tell them they're rustic. Okay, but she's not alone in not wanting her feet seen all the time in public. A lot of people are a little nervous in the summer to wear those sandals, to wear those flip-flops, those Tevas, or is it Tevas? I never know.
I think it's Teva, but she's with nearly half of the general population, according to some recent surveys.
According to a survey that we don't know who did it and don't know their methodology, but we know that it's true because we're talking about it. Yeah, about half of all people are self-conscious about their feet.
Yeah. So it's Gen Xers and millennials. And again, like older, I think, probably members of the population. The older you get, maybe the more foot issues you have. Too many years in heels, not enough time at the podiatrist, not enough time getting a pedicure. But I am shocked at the stats and what people are self-conscious about.
Are you scared to bare your feet in public?
No, I am not scared to bare. I don't think I have great feet. Like, I wouldn't describe my feet as rustic. I'm not Frodo Baggins over here, but I don't I don't really care about them. I don't think about it. So long as I've had a recent pedicure, I'm pretty good. Like I prefer my toenails painted. I think they should look nice. But the foot issues that they're saying are the reason why they want to keep their feet in sneakers, I can get behind because they're saying that smell is one. 50% of people are nervous about smell, and toenail fungus is another.
Yeah, a huge number. What is it? 40 some odd percent are scared of bearing their who's got these toenail fungus that's so bad that if I see your foot, it's like obvious that you have it?
That's crazy. Just go get it dealt with. And you can just go to the doctor for that. This sounds to me like people are medically avoidant. Why do 50% of people have smelly feet to the point where they don't want to wear sandals?
Or put on athlete's foot cream. I mean, it's cheap. Yeah. It's over the counter. No problem.
No, it's crazy. Toe hair, wax that off at your pedicure, no problem. Toe shape, can't do much about that. Hence the rustic feet. So yeah, like if you have kind of like short, square feet, I get it. You may not want to wear sandals. You might not want to wear a strappy sandal. But I don't think, unless you're a foot fetishist, you should rest assured that most people are not looking at your feet.
I think there are people that are into rustic feet. And I think anyone listening who's like, oh, I'm one of these people, one of these 50% of people that's a little embarrassed to show my feet, you're not alone. Just bear it all and you'll normalize it. Show off your funky feet. Show off your rustic feet. That way you're blazing the trail for other people who might be too embarrassed. They could see you in your sandals with your horrifying feet and think, I'm not alone. I should show off my feet too.
Rustic Foot Awareness Day. We've just started something here. Wait, so does she... Okay, wait. So when you said that, she was like, great, now I'm never wearing sandals again, or what was the fallout?
She just started laughing because I didn't even say it. It just came out of my mouth. I know that seems like it's this thoughtful high comedy, like, oh, I'm insulting you and it's a joke. But I just said it without realizing how insulting it was. So we now just use it as a cute little joke about that time I was extremely mean without realizing it.
Do you wear sandals?
Yeah, I have beautiful feet. My dad has like horrifying, like worthy of a medical study feet.
Okay.
And I shared a shower. Okay, get your head out of the gutter. But I used my parents' bathroom as a kid. And so I think as a young lad, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, I was exposed to the worst foot funguses possible. So I have a super immunity. I have like a properly trained immune system. I've never gotten athlete's feet. I have beautiful feet. They're beautiful. Beautiful.
Your foot microbiome is intact because of your dad's issues.
Yes. But no, my feet are perfect.
Interesting. I don't have bad feet. I don't think I have great feet. I couldn't be a foot model, but I did once list some vintage fancy shoes for resale online and inadvertently stumbled into the foot fetish community that exists when you list shoes because they respond to you asking for photos of you wearing the shoes. And only after sending photos of my feet to 2 people who requested it did I tap into the fact that there was a kink afoot and I had to stop listing shoes online.
What, did it creep you out or you were flattered?
Fully creeped me out. Hate it every minute.
All right. In case we haven't disgusted people enough, have you ever cleaned your luggage? If you haven't, you might want to think about it because your suitcase 58 times dirtier than a public toilet seat. This is exactly the kind of content we want to be doing here with Caitlin Green. We'll be back with more Pop Cultured like Fungus in a minute.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Taste the forbidden fruit of knowledge. The last show with David Cooper.
Oh, we are back with Caitlin Green. I think a lot of people know that planes are vile. I always see the person on the plane who has all the alcohol wipes and they wipe down their seat and their tray and their armrest and everything. And you kind of look at them like they're crazy, but at the same time you're thinking, I wish I had the courage to be embarrassed for a second and judged by others so that this seat would be a little less disgusting. I'm here with Caitlin Green. She's a media personality and co-host of the Jan Arden Podcast. She was waving her hand as I described this. Are you that person who wipes down your seat?
I'm a devout seat wiper and have been pre-COVID. So, and this all started, I think I remember wiping down the armrest and the little sort of leather serviette that hangs over the seat behind your head.
Yeah.
I remember just wiping those down one day, and the color that came off onto that wipe was burned into my memory. And I never again was able to sit in the seat comfortably that I didn't wipe down as much as I could at first. Now I travel with my son. Little kids put their hands and mouth all over everything. And so I'm hyper aware of it for him. But I was already doing this. I was the Naomi Campbell of any flight I was on. People thought that I was psychotic. I do not care. I am more comfortable on my flight as a result of wiping everything down first.
No, I admire people who do it. I wish I had the courage. Maybe I'm just a lemming. I'm just getting bacteria and filth all over me. But I never thought to think that I never thought to think while thinking, I guess not thinking, that my luggage would be a source of filth. And a new finding says that the average traveler's suitcase is 58 times grimier than a public toilet seat. Now I'm thinking I need to acid wash my luggage every time I travel. And my bag's like 10 years old. I got a nice bag, and so I want to keep it a long time, but I'm scared to touch it now.
Is it a hardcover bag?
No, it's soft cover, so it's really absorbing those grimy whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be dirty. I figured this out because I think you just noticed that the conveyor belts in the airports are dirty, airport floors are dirty. Like everything about air travel strikes me as dirty. So I do clock this with the surface of a suitcase, especially a hardcover suitcase, especially the wheels. And I would never dream of putting them on the bed. And that always grosses me out about hotels, because I think people come into hotels and they don't use the little luggage stand. They just toss it on the bed like a crazy person.
Hotel rooms are very grimy. To me, it's like you just got to accept it, you know?
Yes. So there is, like, you do at some point have to do away with this, or you become kind of Howie Mandel about the whole situation. But I wouldn't put the suitcase on the bed. I have wiped down my hardcover suitcases before for both myself and my husband with said wipes. And yeah, I don't even really like, if I go on the subway and I'm wearing jeans or whatever I'm wearing, I will change out of my subway pants before I sit on my sofa or get on my bed.
I'll sit on the sofa with my Metro, my train jeans, but no, I will never sit on the bed even with my subway jeans. I used to live in San Francisco, and I think they've taken them out of service, but there was these old train cars. The subway there is called the BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. And the person who designed these cars must have been a hopeless optimist, because he believed, or she believed, although it was probably a dude, he believed that humanity was ready for carpeted subway cars. And they were like these blue carpet. I mean, they were originally blue. Those carpets were the stuff out of a horror film.
Oh my gosh.
They might have caused COVID. I mean, I know it was supposed to come out of like Wuhan or whatever, but they might have come out of those carpets. They were so disgusting. And I'm just thinking, who thought humanity was ready for carpet on public transit? And it was whoever designed it. And honestly, I look up to them because they see the best in humanity, and humanity's just not there yet.
That's crazy behavior, because here in Toronto on the streetcars, if you recall, back in the day, the seats used to be soft.
Yes.
They were this fuzzy, soft material.
And if you hit them, dust would come out.
The things that poofed out of those seats, they were awful. And sometimes there would be old subways that would also have them. And when you got onto a different generation of subway, they would be hard seated. And I would be so relieved, because I did not enjoy sitting on top of those fuzzy old seats. They were disgusting. Oh my gosh, I still remember them.
I just did a little work on my house. Maybe I should have installed like an acid wash airlock in the front where you come in, it air seals, you get a full acid bath, and then you enter the home. Is the moral of the story there's no escape from grime, so embrace it? Or is the moral of the story wipe down your suitcase with alcohol wipe?
I think wipe down your suitcase every so often. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Sometimes I don't want these stories when they come out and they sort of circulate social media and start trending. You don't want them to derail people's brains, because I can fall victim to that clearly as the resident plane wiper. But I do think doing it every once in a while, like, there's nothing wrong with it.
All right. I might get the courage to wipe down my plane seat because of you, Caitlin.
You're welcome for that.
Thank you. And maybe someone out there listening will get the courage as well. We'll all wipe down our seats and sing a song or who knows what.
Don't judge other people who are doing it. That's what I'll say, because we are in a hell of our own making. So just take pity on us.
Yeah. Whenever someone's like a germaphobe, I try not to get too annoyed, because I'm like, they must have a rough life, you know?
Yeah. It's worse for us. Trust me.
Fair enough. Let's do this last story here.
Okay.
How much is too much for an Hermes handbag?
Oh my gosh, these things, I don't get it. They've never really appealed to me that much. And I have watched enough housewives to know that women can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for these things. At the very least, you're going in on at least 30 grand. And it seems so egregious to me.
Now, one went up for auction, and it did not go up for auction a low amount, if grammar makes sense. Not sure it does. The original Hermes bag, was this like the first? This was the patient zero bag ever designed?
So this is the Hermes Birkin bag. So this is a type of bag that is probably the most highly coveted in the entire world. And it's named after Jane Birkin, the French actress Jane Birkin. And it was her original Birkin bag. It was like the Birkin bag that started all Birkins. It was conceptualized 40 years ago. And she was traveling with the head of Hermes. They were passengers on a flight to London. And she was complaining that the fashion house made their purses too small. She was like, I can't pack all my stuff in here. I need like a chic carry-all bag for when I travel. So she literally sketched on an air sickness bag a design that Hermes then personally constructed for her. At the time, it was one of a kind, and it has like this very luggagey look, which if you are familiar with the Birkin bag or you Google image it, you'll quickly see. So her original bag, the collector of all collector's items, sold for $10.1 million.
Honestly, to me, that seems a bit low, given that these are such a status symbol amongst the ultra wealthy private jet luxury yacht crowd. It seems like 10 million is kind of low for such a status thing.
I actually agree. And I don't know what that says about my poisoned consumer riddled brain. And I know that there's way better things that $10 million should be spent on, but it is kind of a piece of history. Like, I could imagine this bag one day being in a museum. I honestly thought it would have gone for more money.
Yeah, like obviously I'm not advocating someone buy this, but I'm just thinking like Jeff Bezos, $10 million is nothing to a guy like that. I'm just thinking there's got to be these billionaires out there, some of them with wives, some of them are women themselves, some of them are men who want purses. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, honestly, what a steal. If I had 10 million in the bank, I might do it just to then resell it.
Absolutely. Someone pointed out that I think that there was like a record for fashion items that have been sold at auction. And it was the pair of ruby red slippers from The Wizard of Oz was auctioned off at $32 million. And I felt like this was kind of up there, like it should be historically up there. So maybe this anonymous Japanese collector got kind of a deal.
Maybe you did. Do you have a Birkin bag?
I don't. I'll never be able to afford one. But I know someone who has one. He purchased one because he got a deal somehow, knows someone at Hermes, ends up getting one. I don't think it was a deal, but like basically could buy one because there's long wait lists. And he'll never wear it. It literally sits in a safe and appreciates in value. They go up in value all the time. It's crazy.
I was talking to somebody about this. You can't just walk into a store and buy one. You have to walk into the store and buy a bunch of things, come back the next day, buy a bunch of things, buy more, buy a couple of trinkets, 1,000 there, 500 there, and finally they invite you to buy a bag.
They invite you to go on a wait list.
Otherwise, they throw you on the wait list and you never get off it.
100%.
I would spend my money on much better things like, I don't know, a house.
Yeah, a couple houses.
Yeah, house or 10. Caitlin Green, you can find her on the Jan Arden Podcast. Caitlin, what a pleasure it was having you on the show.
Always the best.
Always the best. All the best.
I meant to say it's always the best.
You were just claiming that you're always the best.
No, I meant like it's always the best time. That's the word I was missing.
Fair enough. After the break, we'll answer the question, why are multiple bears completely obsessed with the same tree in British Columbia? It's all caught on a trail cam with bears rubbing, biting, just loving that tree, pure bear bliss. We will explain what's going on and why one specific tree seems to be the hottest spot in the forest for Winnie the Pooh. That's a bear. You probably knew that. I'm David Cooper. We'll be back with more Last Show in a bit.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
The only talk show with an introduction that mentions its own introduction. And that's happening right now in this introduction. The Last Show with David Cooper.
attention. Yeah, you just want attention.
Multiple bears, one tree, a whole lot of rubbing, biting, and bear obsession. You heard that right. Several bears have been caught on film obsessed with the same tree. Why? Why on earth? I am curious. Here's what happened. Mary Beth Pongrac set up trail cameras in Sechelt, British Columbia, Canada, and discovered a bear hotspot like no other. She joins me to share what she's seen and why this tree is irresistible to our furry friends, the bear. Mary Beth, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the mechanics here. Why do you have so many cameras pointing at the woods? Why the obsession with trail cams?
Because I love wildlife, and you don't always, you go out in the woods, you don't always get to see them. So this way I can kind of get a peek into their lives when they're acting themselves, just they're going about their lives as they would. The bears, especially bears, do sometimes see my cameras and they will poke at them and stuff like that. Other animals don't even notice them. Like cougars don't pay any, like in the United States, you guys call them mountain lions, but they don't bother with the cameras. But bears are fascinated with them. I don't know why, but I've got all kinds of videos of them sniffing and clawing and everything at them.
Before we get to this tree that seems to be some religious icon for bears, what are some of the other things you've seen on your cams that have surprised you or might surprise other people?
Yeah, spotted skunk. Spotted skunks. It's the western spotted skunk. They're very cute. Northern flying squirrels, I get them. Like cougars, bobcats, just black bears, coyotes. I've put my camera and I'm going up to put some more in a very, very remote area. And I'm hoping to get wolves. I don't know. But, and maybe grizzly bear. Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, so let's get to the tree. Describe for me this tree that these bears have this insatiable curiosity for.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why it is exactly. However, I did do some research about bear rub trees, and apparently it isn't actually quite random. They do select certain trees, and one of the criteria, the bear criteria, is that it's a coniferous tree, like not like a Christmas tree type, that kind of tree. And this is a western red cedar. It's still alive, even though the bears have actually rubbed a lot of the bark off in that area. I was really excited recently to get a bear actually biting the tree. It was right into that rubbing and biting and yeah.
Really getting excited at that tree.
Yeah, I think so. The thing is there's scent marking. It's primarily for scent marking. And but both male and female bears do the rubbing. Probably feels good. And I also, in the research that I did, coniferous trees have more sap or resin that they excrete, the trees themselves. And they think that might also help with the scent, spreading the scent. They get some of the sap on their fur, that kind of thing. Who knows exactly? But so the tree fits all the requirements for the bear. It's got no branches down below. There's a nice bend in it so they can rub their backs. They just stand there and rub their backs at the top. And then when they stand on their hind legs, they can rub the rest of themselves.
Why this one tree, though? Is this like it meets all these perfect criteria and so all the bears love it? Do you think the one bear scent marks it and that says to all the other ones, hey, this is a good tree?
Well, that could very well be. It looks like it's probably been used for years. And once one bear does it, then another and another and another will. Also, this time of year, June to mid-July in British Columbia, it's black bear mating season. So there will be more scent marking during this time. However, they do scent mark all year round.
Have you shared your footage with any researchers or anyone from the scientific community?
No, I haven't. They probably have their own trail cameras set up. And they see, actually they do. A lot of them, they're There are a lot of researchers who are doing this.
How popular is the tree? How many different bears do you think you've captured rubbing up against it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you can tell like size difference or markings, but it's really hard to tell how many different bears have rubbed on it. But there are quite a few. I don't know how many to say, because sometimes it's hard to tell the difference if they don't have particular markings on them. Some bears have a little white mark on their chest and that kind of thing. And then the smaller bears, you can tell. But I mean, there's got to be right now, I would say there has to be at least 10 different bears rubbing on that particular tree.
If this tree had a Yelp page or a Google review page, how many stars do you think the bears would give it? And what do you think their reviews would say?
5+. Best tree ever.
Do they come in groups or is it always just one lone bear?
Oh, that's a good question. Very good question. Sometimes it's usually just one bear. However, I do have footage of one bear rubbing and then another one shortly, you can see it on the camera coming up to do it to rub there as well. So I don't know whether that's a male following a female because it was during the mating season. Because that's what males do in the mating season is they do follow the females. But but it's usually one at a time, but they can be not very far apart in time because my cameras have a time stamp. So I know what time they're doing it.
Would you consider naming the tree maybe Club Scratch or the Black Bear Scratch Tree or something like that?
I don't know. I hadn't thought of that. I could probably think of a name. I don't know. Black Bear Ballroom. Because they seem to dance.
How often do you check your trail cams? Do you get kind of emotionally invested in some of your regular creatures that you see? Do you have like a favorite bear or something like that?
Well, yeah, like that. There are. And then like this one camera I've got up, I know I'm positive it's the same cougar each time. You do. And I do. One of the things I see is sometimes injured animals, which is then it brings out the emotions because it's hard for them. There's nothing I can do for them, but I do know they're very resilient and wildlife they can quite heal themselves a lot in nature, surprisingly. But right now I've got about 15 cameras out and I check them 2 to 3 weeks, especially in summer. Summer is really busy. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of activity.
Is it a lot of scrolling through a lot of nothing, or are they motion activated? They're just sort of presenting you the highlights?
Yeah, that's a good the highlights. Yeah. No, often you get wind triggers. Like if the wind blows and a tree moves, it's motion activated and heat activated. So body heat. And and I get a lot of birds. Some bird ones I keep if they're good, if they look good. But yeah, you do scroll through a number, but at this time of year, I'm getting mostly wildlife.
A lot of positives instead of false positives.
That's right.
Well, Mary Beth Pongrac is a trail cam enthusiast and lover of all wild creatures in Sechelt, British Columbia. Mary Beth, thanks for talking to me today. I appreciate your time. And good luck with the tree.
And I'll try to name it.
Please do.
Thank you very much, David.
Up next, all those stereotypes you thought you had right about people and their tattoos. Whether you're older and you think that means they'll never have a job, or you see someone on the street and they've got ink that looks dangerous, well, your assumptions were wrong. What you thought tattoos revealed about other people's personalities are often not only incorrect, but the opposite. We'll dig in with someone who did this research about ink and flaming skulls and why you should get a tattoo that says no regrets instead of no regrets after the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 50% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
Broadcasting from the intersection of chaos and more chaos. The Last Show with David Cooper.
I remember when I got my first tattoo. My dad, of course, says I'd never work a real job, and that's sort of the very short version of how I ended up in broadcasting. But it turns out people snap judgments about tattoos, and what they reveal about their personality are usually way off. A fascinating new study digs into why, and we are joined by social personality psychologist William Chopik at Michigan State University to discuss who worked on this. Bill, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I am fascinated by your study as someone who, I feel like with young people, like Gen Z's, tattoos aren't what they used to be, but I'm at that weird cusp where I feel like judgments really changed with my generation. Like you could show arm sleeve tattoos in the workplace around the time I was entering it. So my question for you is, what really sparked your interest in people's judgment on tattoos?
I think it was very much that, you know, over the years it became more and more acceptable. And my parents are the same way. You know, they would say, you know, hide your tattoo, people will judge you, you'll never get a job. And, but yeah, attitudes have shifted. Oftentimes they're on full display in a way that, like, even when I was a kid, you know, just, you know, wasn't the same. So yeah, I think it was kind of more and more present. And then also just because we study kind of social and individual psychology, we thought, you know, maybe there's some sort of meaning that people try to communicate through the tattoos. So there's all this research on people being judged based on their tattoos. And we just thought, hey, you know, does it really depend on the tattoo? And it was kind of this natural, obvious question. And, you know, I started thinking about people from my life and the tattoos they have. And a natural research question was born.
The where, the what? You know, I was with a friend the other day who is covered in tattoos, arm sleeves, chest, back, legs, but she doesn't have any on her neck and face. And she said something judgmental about someone who did have one on their neck, like coming up into their face. And I thought, what a curious thing. Even amongst those who have them, they have judgments about them themselves.
Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah, they don't extend the same grace despite having it themselves. But I mean, that's true of a lot of things in psychology. You know, I'm judgmental about someone exercising when I'm, you know, doing it myself or sitting on the couch. And
sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, tattoos are the placement of them, the type of them, what's featured in it, you know, the kind of judgments aren't restricted to people who just don't have tattoos like my parents. So yeah, it's really a pervasive societal thing.
That you know of, Bill. There could be a Playboy punny tattoo. Who knows?
They've suppressed that from my childhood. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Your study found that people do get things consistently wrong about their judgments based on others who have tattoos. What are some of these misconceptions or things that they get wrong?
Yeah, for sure. Well, at the very least, it's not like it's all random. So when they see someone with a certain tattoo, they tend to agree on them. So just like your friend saying, neck tattoo, that's wild. Like, what are they thinking? Or maybe it's, you know, not very tasteful or the low quality. So, you know, when people see a tattoo, they tend to agree on like the judgments about it. Like, oh, that the person with a neck tattoo is wild. The person with a skull tattoo is a badass. But the truth is that rarely corresponds to people's personalities. So you might judge someone as, you know, a really tough person or a really compassionate person if they have like flowers or a tribute to somebody. But really, it just doesn't correspond to like literally anything about them.
Is there any weird corner cases where it does correspond to things about people? Like if tattoos are particularly wacky?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one fascinating thing is that sometimes you're right. You know, your friend is right and correct about the person they're talking about. So yeah, that was the one exception, was that when you saw someone with kind of a wacky or eccentric tattoo, you tend to think that they were open-minded, kind of explore, you know, unique interests and tastes. They're sort of like philosophical and, you know, just or kind of meta aware of things. So you tended to judge them that way. And then when we asked them of their personality, indeed, they're like, yep, that's me. yeah, you got me. You pegged me, you had me exactly right. So of all the things we looked at, that was one that emerged.
My girlfriend won't let me get a no regrets tattoo on my body with regrets spelled wrong, but I desperately want one.
No, we saw some really creative ones, so that would not have been the weirdest one in the study.
Size, style, themes like death. Are you surprised by how little what these tattoos are and what they mean to the people, or what they appear to mean to the person, say or predict about their personality? Were you expecting more correlations when you went into your study?
Yeah, totally. And when I think of the tattoos that I would get, it would be personally meaningful to me and tell you something about me. Or the no regrets tattoo, in your case, you would assume that, it's humorous. You like to joke around maybe. But it was just so bizarre that nothing corresponded. We even asked half the people to tell us the meaning of that tattoo. So if you said, oh, this is just a joke, or, this one is a tribute to my late father, even among those things, we didn't really find any correspondence when we literally told people why they got the tattoo. It really didn't seem to matter or increase how accurate they were judging them.
Tattoos used to be seen, I feel like when I got my first one 15 years ago or so, it felt rebellious. I mean, I was a bit younger. I was probably primed to feel rebellious because my parents didn't, they weren't happy with it and all this.
Right.
But do you think the growing popularity of tattoos, especially amongst young people, will make these snap judgments go away more and more? I'm already observing it. But do you think not that I don't love my baby boomer parents, but eventually they will pass. When certain generations go, these judgments will just fade away completely?
Yeah, it's certainly becoming more common and accepted. And, there's some estimates like maybe a third or more that have some sort of tattoo. It is kind of a generational thing. The truth is tattoos have been around for a very long time, long before our lives and probably long after.
Naval traditions, various cultures have religious traditions of tattoos. It's like, yes, they haven't been around for certain segments of the population, but in others, they've been around for millennia.
Yeah, millennia, and then we still have our parents telling us we won't get a job because of it. So I think the stigma, it seems to be going down just because people get exposed to it more or get it themselves. But even studies published last year and the year before show that people with tattoos are stigmatized still. So, they're less likely to get a job. They're more likely to be judged negatively. So the stigma's still there, but it seems like it's getting better. Our study was sort of useful, again, to show, it's not just if you have a tattoo or not, but maybe the type of tattoo you have too. That's also driving judgments and maybe causing some stigma too. But luckily, it doesn't say anything really about you as a person.
Well, to that end, were there any judgments you found that were not just inaccurate, but maybe the opposite of reality? Cases where people thought one thing about an individual based on their ink, but then in reality, that individual was the opposite?
Yeah, well, some of it is again, things that you would rely on stereotypes about. So if they have a skull or death imagery or maybe depicting some violent thing, a lot of people are like, oh, that person's maybe less emotionally stable. Maybe they're less nice. And we asked the people, and then it turns out they're sweethearts. They're like, yeah, I'm chill. It's so wild. It was so surprising. But, it really does go to show how complicated people are. You can't be defined by just your tattoo. There's so many things about you. The shame is, though, that people are judging you in a particular way. Luckily, it just doesn't correspond to anything about you.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of maybe a bit too cynical, but I'm like, if someone's going to judge me based on my tattoos, that's not really a person I want to add to my Rolodex. That's too judgmental an individual for me. So it kind of scares away those that I wouldn't seek to build community with anyway.
Yeah, or is this a person I would get a tattoo next to? Is maybe a good judgment of a friend rather than, reducing you to a tattoo you got when you were 18.
Yeah, or the matching one I have on my arm with my ex-wife. She has the same one on her bust. That's a conversation for another day, maybe my therapist. Well, Bill, thanks for talking to me about your study. It's been really interesting. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for talking to me about it.
William Chopik is a social personality psychologist at Michigan State University. That is the show. Thank you for spending at least some of your Monday evening with us. Don't forget the last show available as a podcast for you to stream anytime you like. Catch those parts you love twice or any evening you missed. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's .pizza, not .com. There, you can subscribe, find out details. You know the drill. Well, I guess you don't. That's why I'm telling you. I'm David Cooper, and this is, well, it's never been the first show. We'll be back tomorrow night.
Big Brother is back.
Let's freak it go!
This summer, the game gets hotter, the alliances get trickier, and the blind sides, brutal.
Just a roller coaster of backstabbing and craziness.
New house guests, new twists, same epic drama.
Bro, I'm gunning for you. You're my #1 target.
Who can you trust when everyone's watching?
Game on, baby.
Big Brother. All new Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays on Global. Stream on Stack TV.